What up, and welcome back to the It You Cruise Star Trek Iskandar, our role-playing game set in the Star Trek universe. Welcome to session 6 of our latest episode, So Shall You Reap. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the finale session of a long-running episode of a long-running game. You're gonna be confused.
Don't let her put you off. Stay. Be confused.
Be confused. So yes, welcome, hello everyone. We're back, and I promise you, making wild promises, promising you this is the finale of So Shall You Reap. I'm Kath. I will be your GM for the evening. Sure, it's the finale. If it's not the finale, it's not my fault. It's the fault of these absolute dirtbags. Yes, so I'm going to dive pretty much straight back into it, although I will alert you that for a twofold reason, we will not be operating with access to the helps and hinders format tonight. The first reason for this is because this is the finale of a game which is largely about politics, choices, conversation, and I honestly think it would be a waste of everyone's time and effort if you tried to throw me helps and hinders, because basically this ball is rolling and it's really just about how much the players do or do not get splatted over the course of things. The other side of it is also we have not yet turned the helps and hinders system back on after I hear it was a totally amazeballs fundraising stream over the weekend. And
the thing is, even without Kath being nice, I was just going to go, I was awake for 30 hours.
in which Izzy went a bit peculiar.
Izzy being awake for 30 hours has nothing to do with the 24-hour stream, by the way. Like, for the 24-hour stream, they got up just before it and went to bed straight after, so we're only awake for about 26 hours.
No, I was actually awake for the 24 hours of the stream, and then after that, I stayed awake for 30 hours just to see.
And also, Izzy being peculiar is also entirely unrelated. Just
okay, Mike, you got to say something to drag me now?
Oh, fuck you. I don't know.
Jesus.
Go fuck yourself.
You
idiot.
Mike.
You absolute buffoon.
Wow.
Wow, Michael.
That's just rude.
Rude? Mean?
Yeah.
This hurt my
Hurtful.
feelings. Also, you have been replaced as the dabber on this channel now. We had someone over the charity stream who dabbed better than you did.
They dab for money, so
it doesn't take
better
much
than
to
you.
dab better than I do.
They dabbed during a horror game, which you just got to respect that.
Sometimes I see someone dab,
you.
and I'm like, I wish my body could do that.
Anyway, now I know all the things I'm going to do to hurt these players tonight. Let's dive back into it. Previously on Star Trek Iskandar, the crew of the Iskandar are faced with resolving a series of crises on the Klingon world of Hatoria. Afflicted by the Tournon, a blight upon their crops, which has led to a quarantining of the planet. None of this has yet led to any serious consequences, which has also been aided by Starfleet Relief Station being set up. But if this continues, it's gonna fuck some shit up for Hatoria and for local economy and, you know, feeding people. Those are all things which need to happen. There is some headway which is being made on a potential cure for the blight, of the genetic alteration and engineering of a series of indigenous, we'll call them bees, but that's a light term for the Gurwa and what they truly are. But they appear to consume the fungal spores which are responsible for the blight, and so the intention is to unleash a series of sterile bees upon the planet in conjunction with all of the standard countermeasures. It is intended and anticipated that this will fix things. However, the situation is more complicated than that, as also Commander Talandra and Lieutenant Kantos need to reach a conclusion on whomst amongst the offspring of the Lady Ratek should inherit. The dutiful warrior who may or may not be a war criminal, the likable utter blowhard and liar, or the capable scientist who's a very sulky boy.
We vote him. I want to adopt the science boy, please.
We love him.
You can't adopt more science boys.
I can.
Capacity.
Always adopt more science, boys.
I would like to invite him to be part of the Commander Varen Foundation for Sulky Science Boys.
New flexing from Strange, wanting more science boys. However, hunting down those who are the indication found that the Tuchanon was artificially created, and following various leads has led Lieutenants Casey and Ensign Strange, along in the company of Luth, to an Orion ship whose captain has just admitted, yes, they delivered afflicted barrels of blood wine to Hatoria, knowingly, on behalf of none other than Lady Ratek herself. Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun!
At present, the only people who know are those three. The captain of the local KDF Klingon Defense Force ship has not been informed, nor has his crew. However, we are going to, unless there are any other objections, I think we are going to pick up as the away mission returns to Hatoria with the under instructions at present to keep the Orion captain and his crew essentially in custody aboard his ship in orbit. Luth has left the KDF with very strict instructions that they are not to bring them into custody themselves, that they are just to leave them for the moment in detention aboard their own ship, as the agreement was reached with Captain Harad that he would like to go into Starfleet custody, please, and thank you, for many reasons.
If I am to prison, a nice prison, please.
Yeah, also he was a little bit concerned that he was going to be the scapegoat for an inside job. Like, it wasn't even just Klingons, it was also like, what do you do when the Lords did it and I say the Lords did it? That sounds like how I get disappeared.
Okay, come with us. We'll put you in a nice prison away from the Klingons. We'll put you in a box, and then once all of this is blown over, you can be let out the box into a different box.
With rehabilitation.
It'll be a rehabilitation box as opposed to the keep you away from Klingons box.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a lovely box called New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yes, so Casey and Strange, I assume that you are going to want to report your findings to the commander. So
Yes.
I'm going to assume that we have a big old conflab, people returning to the Iskandar, but for the simplicity's sake, let's say it's the three of you in the ready room, and I assume you can have updated the commander with, we got all this, including the comms evidence. So
Yeah.
we open up with Talandra looking serious, clearly having been told everything. Oh, and Luth as well, actually, I realised he would be there.
Talandra will look, I think, at Luth and just go, and you have reason to believe this, Orion?
I do not believe he's lying, and his I do not believe his communication records have been manufactured forgeries. I don't understand why.
It seems as though there is more afoot here than is simply being stated outright, which is an understatement. But how to progress going forward is not something I am well versed in.
Suppose an option is to seek an audience and inform and provide all of our evidence and findings to Lord Hegek, as my house is sworn to his, and thus he is the person who would have authority to act in this matter. Alternatively, I would have the right or to confront and challenge my mother and take action. And I'm not sure I can perceive of an option which is not to challenge her.
Which is
And
not
kill
something you
her.
would. Which is not something you would prefer to do.
It is. Again, understand that what she has done, if I set aside for the moment the motivations, if I set that aside, assuming that there is no good explanation for this, because if there is, I can't possibly fathom what it is, then there is. She will die for this. The only question is whether or not House Ratek resolves it itself, ourselves, or if it would be a sign of weakness, I suppose, if the House of Hegek had to come in and do it for us. That's how these things have to go. It reflects what she has done, will reflect upon the House. And if the House is not seen to be able to correct it, then that makes us too weak to rule Hatoria. It makes us either complicit or incompetent as the other members of the House.
Ought I then to speak with her privately?
I think that might be. I see no reason to not.
Should she act irrationally upon the revelation, the three of you will remain aboard the Iskandar with the Orion. Should she act rashly, then you will have the information necessary to take action.
Yes. I'm in a very difficult position here.
You are.
I'm if it comes out that I have known and my first action was not to challenge her, that again reflects poorly upon me and the House of Ratek. Which does not, it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily, I suppose, mention that to her, but it can't become public knowledge. If I go there, if I go to the hall, I think I have to confront her. It doesn't have to be public, but I have to confront her.
Then
We
you
have very
have
narrow
no
window.
reason. Then you have no reason to go to the hall. But
Yes. I don't think you need to keep it a secret from her that I know.
it seems that comparatively, the dishonor of not challenging her for the crimes that she has committed reflect worse on her still than on you.
Yes, and if she publicly pronounces, if she is completely irrational and takes you hostage and publicly pronounces that I also know, then I suppose then I could act. But at that point in time, I think it would be a question of stopping Kvek from getting to her first.
Yes, I imagine.
Assuming
that
she's
is-
not in it. I am overthinking this, Commander.
I know very little of Kvek and her temperament beyond what I have seen already, but it seems that barrels of infected blood wine would not be her style.
It would not be, but I do not know what she would do if Mother insisted upon it.
Perhaps.
It would be a test of her loyalty for certain. But yes, you are correct. I cannot keep assuming other things.
Remain aboard the Iskandar. Your focus while here can continue to be the Dochnon.
Yes, if we can get back to considering a means of deploying the Gurwa and any of the antifungal traditional measures which Starfleet can deploy, we can get in contact with maintainers of the terraforming platforms for stabilizing the climate and see what we can deploy.
Of course.
Of course.
Just stay busy.
Feel free to use the Iskandar's shuttles if you have any need of crop dusting equipment.
Thank you. As I said, I think the climate control and the atmospheric control affairs would be able to do what we need, but if not, but we would need to get things to them. So, good luck, Commander.
Thank you, love. I will be in touch. Lieutenant and
Commander?
Commander.
So, is Delandra going completely alone? Yeah, it's time for Delandra to get shot in the head.
because on one hand, Talandra has
In accordance with the prophecy.
Talandra has three armors at the moment that are making her confident. One is plot armor, where she's like, I'm the main character. If I die, it's a big deal. She doesn't think that, but it's like, oh, I'm not going to die immediately. The second is Starfleet armor, where she's like, I'm a Starfleet commander. I'm not going to get murked by some Klingon. And on the third hand, she's like, I'm a fucking Vulcan, mate. If you want to throw down, I guess we'll throw down. But like, you're old.
You're an old Klingon.
You're an old Klingon, and I'm not.
Go.
Oh yeah, don't watch this stream if you don't want football spoilers. Kath is
Not a
excited.
spoiler. I can't predict things.
No, I mean, if people, sometimes
Yeah.
people don't watch
That's
the
true.
football until later.
That's true. I'm sorry. I should have warned you all.
People are prioritizing us over football.
Sure, although, like, one, I appreciate and understand that. Although in this day and age, good fucking luck. But
Look, some people do, and I'm just telling people in advance. I have noticed
so,
that.
technically, we're telling people too late now.
Yeah, but like our goal is not like, oh, they've won, they're done.
Yes, that's true.
Also, Kath didn't say who scored a goal, just that a goal had been scored.
I'm really happy for the Czech Republic. I'm so happy for the Czech Republic.
You could have been watching the other game that is also happening right now.
I mean, I wish you well, but I don't.
And again, you could
I
have
know-
been either side.
I now want there to be another goal, and Kath's just like, and we'll be like, oh, the Czech Republic scored.
Good on you, Czech.
What I would like to see happen is for England to lose horribly, still go through in third place, Scotland to smash Croatia, and then have them face France, Germany, or Portugal.
I will beat the lot of them.
It's
All
Czechia
at
now,
once.
isn't it?
Not according to. I've had this conversation. I can't remember the outcome, but it is not according to the Guardian live feed. Is what I've got. That's all I got.
All right, The Guardian. Well, no, I didn't think it was like a either or thing. I think they folded it in the way Mexico voted to be like, yeah, you can call us Mexico.
Mexico's not Mexico anymore.
Not officially. No, as in like South Africa isn't called South Africa, it's called the Republic of South Africa.
Oh, right, yeah. I
And so
gotcha,
they
yeah.
moved to have Mexico put on their like official documents as like, yeah, you can call us
It's a weird
just
move for South
Mexico.
Africa.
It's
It was goal by Sterling, by the way, for anyone who gives a shit.
I
is
give a
good.
shit.
I
can't.
don't.
Upset all the haters. People, he's a good guy.
He's a good kid.
Good kid.
I'm just assuming he's younger than me because he's a footballer. And
Yeah.
on that excitement, I'm leaving.
Sorry, yes. Okay, that's. I
Holy
guess now we
shit.
were gonna have an
What did we
interview.
do?
I'm gonna talk about football more for the
Yeah,
period of
We
moments.
ruined Star Trek.
Just fucking ruined Star Trek by mentioning the football.
by mentioning sport, we've broken it, Kath.
Yeah, we've broken it. Okay,
Unprecedented.
But I say
Unprecedented.
you started it. I just encouraged it.
I'm just
Incredible.
excited. Okay, come on, let's go to the live feed for Croatia versus Scotland. Let's get that up.
No.
There is a
No,
live feed.
there is a
Please,
live
Scotland.
feed. Croatia had just scored like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, fuck.
Literally, it was 0-0.
It's not updated
As
yet.
I clicked,
It's fucked.
when
It's
I
all
clicked
fucked.
the open button and it just says, "Oh dear."
It's ruined. Absolutely ruined. This isn't. I might as well go offline. This is fucked. Entire stream
Oh, no.
compromised.
I know I'm supposed to be
Jesus
jamming,
Christ.
but I just had it open and I just glanced, and it happened to be basically the second the goal was scored. I was giggling briefly
Just
at the Guardian
unmuted it.
coverage describing Harry Kane meets a loose ball 25 yards out and sends a speculative effort towards the hanger lane gyratory system, which I thought was quite funny.
I've got to get control of it.
Loose.
Going live in
Four.
5,
Wait, what? Are we?
4,
That's not going to work,
Yeah.
Mike.
1.
4.
So, Talandra goes on her own to Cavan's Hall.
Are we out?
No, we're not. He's not talking shit. It's because we were talking more football while you were AFK, and apparently this has offended Michael.
I just went to get a duvet because I was cold.
You've never walked off screen during the stream before.
I
It was madness.
Plenty of times.
No, not when you're about to go into a scene.
It was a slight
Usually when
sudden-
like something else is happening.
But I assumed it was fine. You'd be back when you would. And there was nothing else
And
we
in the
could talk about
meantime,
in the moment
we-
except for
I'm
football.
chronically ill, Michael. Don't draw attention to it. I'm sensitive.
Also, Scotland conceded a goal, is he?
I just unmuted the Scottish commentary and they sound like they're gonna cry.
Oh no! Oh no!
Right, that is
Anyway,
enough. That is
yes,
enough.
that is enough of
sports
this.
ball talk.
Enough sports ball talk. It was filler.
That, now that the filler
James,
arc is
edit this
done.
out?
Yeah, James, can you edit this out?
Edit
for
this
us?
out. So y'all, Talandra goes to Cavan's Hall to be able to, I assume, like, speak with Mehed, and I need a quick, discreet conversation with the Lady Ratek, which is easily enough done. You are the arbiter of succession. It is.
You would have absolutely no reason to think that was suspicious.
Yeah, it's not. So you met in her private quarters before, big stone room with a roaring fire. She is in a kind of big wooden throny sort of armchair before it.
It is basically the opposite of Vulcan decor.
Yeah, with a lot of furs thrown over her because she's got to be comfy and she's Klingon. That's how she rolls as you come in. Commander, Arbiter,
Ratek.
what can I do for you?
We need to talk about the Tuchnon.
Indeed.
My crew have been looking into the source of it in the attempts to find the necessary cure. In the process of which we believe that we traced the source of infection back to a shipment of blood wine. The shipment arrived on this date and was distributed out to these locations on this date. And we have testimony that indicate that the request was made by you.
That is unfortunate that you picked at that loose thread, Commander.
Unfortunate is perhaps not the word I would use.
I suppose I should say it is unfortunate that you picked at this loose thread now. Have you reached any conclusions as the arbiter of succession?
Whilst I can see that it would matter now more than ever, it is unfortunate that it seems none of them are suitable.
Truly?
Not necessarily forever, but a combination of culture, experience, and temperament have stymied them all.
I suppose then you have some choices before you. I mean, you could. Well, what do you intend to do with your information, Commander?
I had hoped before making such a decision to find out why.
That is very fair of you, although I suppose what I have to ask is if you intend on continuing to act as the arbiter. If you were to utilize this information in all number of possible ways, which would make it one way or another impossible for me to continue as the Lord of House Ratek, without the arbiter having made a decision, that would be truly chaotic for Hatoria. And I also assume that in some quarters the arbiter would have to be very determined to express that even if I were to be removed or killed or anything, that would not deny you your authority, but that authority would have to be retained, shall I say.
My authority was granted by you.
Yes.
Your removal would throw that into question.
It would. I believe, however, a sufficient amount of conviction and decisiveness would carry that through. Lacking that conviction and decisiveness would open any selection to further attacks. And I'm saying this because I would much rather not. If it is still your intention, I cannot force or do anything other than ask you to carry on and act as the arbiter of succession and to make a decision. I think it is best that I don't explain. Well, maybe to you.
As it stands at the moment, I am disinterested in playing politics.
Mm-hmm.
But as is my position here as a member of Starfleet, my interest is in the good of the people of Hatoria.
Yes.
The good of the people of Hatoria is not served by the House of Ratek falling into chaos.
Quite.
Which is why I came to speak with you directly rather than taking this to your... The word isn't client house. What's the opposite of a client house?
Liege.
Your liege house. Because if I took this news straight to them with the evidence I have, there would be no House Ratek.
No.
Which was made very clear to me by your son.
I'm going to assume you mean Luth. So he knows. That is also unfortunate. This was supposed to be his victory.
A scientific disaster that could be fixed by Luth, thereby giving him a victory to the eyes of the people of Hatoria.
Not just. I mean, that is one possible outcome. You never know. In a crisis, all manner of people can show their mettle. And as you can see by the fact that you are unable to make a decision, Commander, arbiter, I have some difficulty in selecting a successor. Whereas young Luth has the intellect, he has the quiet sense of honor, he even can possess the necessary temperament, what he... You tell me what you think that Luth lacks, Commander.
My opinions of Luth are that he does not lack anything, but that it is Klingon culture that lacks the ability to recognize his virtues.
Arguably, yes, but that has had an impact upon Luth, of course. This wouldn't just be a disaster which Luth could fix. This would be a disaster, and be seen by all to have fixed it. This would be a disaster which Luth could fix, and which Luth would know that he had fixed. There are many tales of Klingon heroism and honor, and my son could hardly ever rule without being able to see himself in one of them. This would make this could have made a fine one. And yes, I have cast Hatoria into a great crisis. An anticipated gamble. And not to mention the fact that one way or another there was going to be a crisis if Luth did not find within him the fire and the belief in himself to demonstrate his quality against all who dismiss him and to be his quality. The fate of Hatoria, if it fell into the hands of Kvek and her indifferent cruelty at best, Judim, neither one of them would do anything for these people. Or if Luth had it while still bent double with his self-doubts, who would take every single criticism of the Klingon people, and every time he was questioned, he would shrink. You're not wrong, Commander, but he needs to not shrink when he is questioned. Any one of them would cause a different crisis for Hatoria. But I chose this one, and I sought Starfleet's assistance.
And so it was necessary to lie to him, so that he would find the leadership that he has possessed all along. Yes, I understand.
I am under no illusions that in this I am the villain for him to overcome. I wasn't sure it would come to it, but I was aware of it as a risk.
What I do going forward, Ratek, will lead to your death.
Yes. But that's only a matter of time anyway. So, I suppose I have one very, well, I suppose less tidy, but the tidiest way is that you perhaps buoy up Luth in some way and make sure that he is stepping into his potential with this situation, or declare him the successor. And the simplest things that happened to me, it's difficult. The harder now he knows, and I'm sure he'll have his own opinions, and I'm not saying you should ignore them, but I propose that you select him and then allow me to commit the Hechbat. To take my own life. End it with a smattering of what little... It's not about my honor, but that would be the most dignified end of me as the head of the House of Ratek. Anything else, and I fear that Luth will have to kill me.
It was a fear he had already.
Well, if that happens, I'll make sure that I'm monstrous. That is why I was hesitant to explain, Commander, as at the very least I would not have explained it if you did not have another arbiter. Because now, I don't know how much this works for you as a Vulcan, but I would argue that now you must be questioning yourself if are you just playing into my hands unnecessarily, or are you making the decision for the right and best reasons?
Currently, my thought process is distinctly more that I now understand how ill-suited I am to diplomacy with Klingons.
We are not what most people think we are.
Nor are Vulcans. Whilst some outcomes may be more logical than others, I am capable of distaste.
I neither expect nor require your approval or disapproval.
Good, for you shall have neither. But I will speak with my fellow arbiter, and a decision will be made.
I hope you do the right thing for the people of Hatoria, then, Commander.
That is all I have been trying to do, Ratek.
I believe you.
She will stand up, incline her head, and head out.
Yep.
And the camera that tracks her as she walks down the corridor, her expression doesn't change, but you always expect it to.
Okay. So I'm just going to go back to the ship, find Kantos.
Yep. And just do whatever the Vulcan equivalent is of flumping down on a couch going, hey, why Klingons, why?
I'm going to assume...
Further.
Is the intention to bring Kantos up to speed, or is the intention to not bring Kantos up to speed?
Talandra can't lie to Kantos.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could just not say things. You don't have to lie, you just have to not tell them.
No, but it would be dishonest to expect them to make a decision without the fact.
Okay. So you can head back to the ready room.
Actually, I think what Talandra is going to say is, Lieutenant, what I have to tell you is something I might colloquially call messy. And I do not feel enriched for having learned it. However, it is important, as we must make a decision together, that you are sufficiently informed. Although before I do inform you, who would you choose now?
I'd still say none of them are a good choice, and I'd be hard pressed to pick who would be the least worst.
You have 3 buttons.
Kvek's bloodthirsty. Shadim's useless but friendly. And Luth still doesn't have or I've not seen enough of the drive to want the position.
But if you pressed a button and they would be made leader of the house with no challenge.
With no challenge, I'd probably pick Luth, since the challenge aspect is what he was most worried about, and work out what to do with him afterwards. He'd hate me for it, but that's who I think would be the least worst out of the 3.
Luth, Lieutenant Casey, and Ensign Strange have discovered the source of the Tuknon. Barrels of infected blood wine, purchased and distributed by Ratek.
by Ratek. As in, head of the house, Lady Ratek.
Lady Ratek of House Ratek.
Why? Why in the galaxy would she go and infect her own planet, ruin her own people's livelihoods? What the hell could she possibly gain from doing that?
To create a fire hot enough that Luth would forge his own leadership.
Oh,
He knows what she did. He does not know why.
right. Right. And she couldn't have found a better way to try and light a fire under him that wasn't risking the livelihoods of her own people and possibly the lives of her own people if it had gotten far enough that,
Yeah, so we know,
things had got
Catherine.
that serious.
There haven't been any deaths starting yet, have there? Okay.
No, not yet.
But yeah, like it. No one has died
No.
yet.
No. Look, we know it's serious.
This is what it's like. Possibly, if things got bad enough.
It's entirely moral luck that no one has died yet, but nevertheless. Which is why I will rely on your counsel on this decision going forward.
Okay.
Because no matter what we decide, Ratek will die. Which...
She know that. I assume she does if she set this up. She has to say that was an outcome.
She all but told me. If
Okay.
we take this to her liege family, they will insist.
They'll have her head.
If one of the children find out and challenge her, and if a successor is named and nobody challenges her, she will perform some ritualistic Klingon suicide. All three outcomes are effectively outcomes that come from our own decision, or lack thereof. And that, for me, is incredibly distasteful and goes against what I believe. But I was instructed when coming on this mission to adhere to the beliefs of the Klingons and not to imperialistically stamp Starfleet and Vulcan values on a situation that did not ask for it.
Yeah, it's not a great decision to have to make, to now basically have to decide how Ratek dies and how the consequences of her death play out.
The best outcome... No, the best outcome is that nobody must die, but the best...
Out of the three options that we've been presented with,
is that Luth is the head of the house.
yes.
To accept that, we must also accept that the best way for him to be head of the house is to have a strong foundation where he cannot be easily challenged by his siblings.
Also true. What I'm weighing up is what is the best foundation for him.
Is it?
How's Hegget coming in? No, that's a non-starter. That is the worst possible foundation for him to be starting on.
Is it then that his?
Whether he kills her or whether she takes her own life.
Is it then that it comes out, or that it is silenced?
I don't know how well it could be silenced in the long term.
Which means he must challenge her. It will come out in time, and if it is
Yes.
found out that he knew...
Exactly. We could keep it quiet for now, for today, for as long as we're on the planet. But I don't think there's any way that we could ever hope to guarantee that nobody would ever find out while Luth was head of the house that he knew that his mother had brought the Tuchnon to Hatoria. And then Hatoria is in a whole different succession crisis, however many years, months even.
Even if we could promise Starfleet silence, the Orion...
Exactly. For the right price.
We must speak to Luth. It must be his decision. We can suggest, but there is no purpose.
But we can't force his hand.
There is no purpose to us forcing his hand. It will make him unsuitable.
Okay. Well, first, Emily, Scotland have scored. Meanwhile, Team Command Arbiter can join the conversation at some point, but regardless of what I said,
Celebratory motorbike. Oh, giant wasp! I didn't actually see, to be fair.
I thought it was a foghorn.
I thought it was.
It was either a celebratory motorbike or a giant wasp. All there was buzzing, and a thing went past the window.
A really big fucking wasp, if that was a wasp.
Yeah, we are talking motorbike-sized wasp.
A Klingon wasp, in fact. The Scottish Klingon wasp.
A brave, bold animal, a beautiful emblem of our country and of our football skills.
A wee buzzing bastard. Down in the science lab with all three sad boys, really, it's fair to say.
Oh yeah, sad and Scottish. The other.
Yeah, the other Scottish.
The other Scottish.
Sad boy cubed.
Where like Strange is
three sad, three boy.
Three sad. Where Strange could get to work on like distribution of plans for if we need to get this kind of chemical out, where's it going to need to be? This is not something which Luth is right, technically. This is the perfect thing to use for the climate controlling towers, which maintain the entire atmosphere. But also you got to do some maths to figure out how that shit.
Oh yeah,
work.
you still need to work out. Okay, we need this much of this chemical to go into this climate control tower so that it gets distributed like this. How the fuck do we actually store this much chemical and get it in there? How do we hook it up to the climate control towers? You can't. It's not like it's just a giant spray bottle.
No, no, that's not how they work. So,
that's not how climate control towers work. Exactly. So they need to work out how do we make them work to distribute antifungal.
Well, Luth and Casey can get to work on continue their work on their genetic creation of bees. Although
we are going to be the first people to make bees
that can't fuck.
What a life!
No sex for these bees.
These are my sexless bees. Now can the Daystar Institute recognize me?
Sam
I
Casey and the
made
Sex
these.
and the
That's
Beast
all
is a
they do
weird
as
band
well.
name.
That's literally just it. These are bees that don't fuck. That's.
Please acknowledge my sexless bees.
Hi, Daystrom Institute here. No.
No, and stop asking.
Pretty sure No One Stop Asking is the first track on the first album from Sam Casey and the Sexless Beast.
Whew. They fuck flowers, I don't know. Yes, like you're figuring out like making you're probably more at the planning stage now of like essentially this is going to be a large case of you know replicating pods
Bees.
to you're not replicating the bees but replicating the pods to grow the bees, and so you've got to start figuring out again quantities and distributions, etc., etc. Although there is a point where Luth sort of stops mid calculations, pauses. Excuse me, can I have something to break?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Grab a beaker and
Yeah.
just hand it over to
He takes
him.
that and he throws it at the wall. Apologize, I don't like doing that in the lab.
No, it's quite all right. Would you like to accompany that breaking with some talking?
I think I have to kill my mother. The worst part is that I don't hate it as much as I should. There is no possible way where she could have done this. There is no reason possibly for her to have done this to this planet, to these people, to their lives. There is no good reason. I want a good reason, but I know that that can't exist. And someone has to bring her to account for this.
Yes.
It can't be Hegek.
No.
And I mean, offense when I say it can't really be Starfleet.
No.
I'm taken.
Please understand, Leth, that I'm not truly that capable or experienced in flattery. So what I'm about to say, I mean from a place of absolute earnestness. The fact that you know and recognize there is no good reason, rather than looking for any reason to justify any other course of action, speaks strongly of your sense of character.
Thank you. It goes against all the fundamental principles of her being the ruler of this planet. She's to be responsible for this world. There must be a reason, but I cannot fathom what it could possibly be, or how it could be good enough. I was expecting Starfleet to tell me no. I'm not criticizing you there.
That's how you know.
Not that I shouldn't try to challenge and slay my own mother. It's not how Starfleet would do this, I'm sure.
No, but this is not
You're
a
right, it's not.
Starfleet. Well,
There is no circumstance you can ever imagine in which you would not need to confront and kill your mother for betrayals.
no.
Looking at the floor, looking at food, get anywhere else.
No, I believe that stage of justice is woven very differently in Starfleet than it is within Klingon culture.
It isn't about justice, it is about her continued life as a Klingon. She has not just betrayed me, she has not just betrayed her family, she has not just betrayed this world, she has betrayed everything about herself and her identity. You understand that no matter what, her life is over. With her heartbeat is almost irrelevant. That is the scale of the betrayal.
As you say, that might not be how we do things in Starfleet for that kind of magnitude of treachery, for that kind of deceit. But we're not here to force you to do things the way that Starfleet would do them.
No, you're not.
Not yourselves, at least.
No, you're not. However, certainly I have found more comradely attitude amongst yourselves as scientists and as like-minded individuals than I have found since leaving Kronos and the Institute there.
Good, thank you.
I suppose maybe I'd hoped you would give me a reason to not. I'm not asking you to conjure something. I suppose I just hoped that there would be some outside perspective I missed.
I wish there was. Even the closest that I could come to a similar experience in my own life is shy in comparison to a planet-wide blight. These are actions that endanger thousands of lives. Whilst we would not pursue a path of execution for such a transgression, it would still be something that needed to be answerable for.
Your own experiences are shy of that. Most people's experiences are shy of that.
I recently found that my mother's kept from me for the last 5 years or so, that I have a genetic disease in which I am dying. A result of the habitation of the planet we lived on.
And they kept that from you?
Yes.
I assume you've made your anger clear enough.
Yes. Anger, sorrow, that this degree of betrayal is still there, but...
Yes, they've wronged you.
They have, but for what was meant to be right reasons, and in part because they were backed into a corner with it. There was very little maneuverability for them. I cannot see in your mother's actions that same lack of maneuverability. They didn't set into being my decay. But your mother actively has put people in jeopardy. There is the difference.
Yes. I'm sorry for your circumstance, Lieutenant Casey.
Thank you.
I hope you burn brighter for the time you have.
That's the hope.
We all die. Our lives and deaths matter, but our lives matter more. And you have been wronged by them. You were a man and a scientist and a warrior in your own right, and you had every right and responsibility to know and to face your own death with eyes open. And you have a right to your anger about that.
When I'm next reflecting bitterly on it, I'll be sure to have a beaker close by to break up my own. I'm sorry, I did not mean to make this about me.
I pressed you. The door's open for allowing Talandra and Kantos to arrive.
What?
We're making progress.
Should be ready to deploy in a few days, give or take.
And I'd expect a few days before we start to see the full effect.
I spoke with Lady Ratek. Do you wish to discuss the outcome Here or in private?
Here is fine.
I will tell you what I told Lieutenant Kantos. That I did not feel enriched for knowing her reasons why. And I believe knowing the answer will significantly add to your suffering. But I also think it is important to face the truth. So the decision is yours.
I am not just a Klingon, and facing such truths would be, or not facing such a truth would be beneath me as a warrior. I am a scientist.
The sad boys recognize the absolute micro expression of, good science, boy. I believe the implication was that your mother did this, that your mettle as a leader would be tested.
In order to fabricate a circumstance in which I could demonstrate my skills and capabilities and competence. And she's our Starfleet here, not... That's why you're the arbiters. So that you would choose me.
Or at the very least, because we would be the ones most likely to see.
Yes. It's
you
dangerous,
in
no
action.
matter what she does. If she picks anyone else to be the arbiter, there is such a risk that they will be charmed by Judim or select Kvek as a warrior. With any Klingon that she chooses, there is always that risk that at the very least they would be sufficiently cowardly as to choose Kvek, who could appear. She chose Starfleet because you would be prepared. You would look at me through open eyes and be more sympathetic to choosing me.
And that we would also give you the means by which to project your talents and find a speedy solution to this problem.
What do you intend to do next, Commander?
I will not hide how uncomfortable this situation makes me, Luth. For I am aware that whatever I choose, Lady Ratek is going to die. Which to Starfleet is distasteful and to my beliefs personally very difficult to accept.
Damn her. There is no choice I can make which doesn't give her what she wants.
I believe that was her intention.
But I can do one thing. I can relieve you of the burden.
Oh?
As I stated, whether or not you are arbiter of succession if she dies is simply a question of whether or not you will choose to step up to do so. But if I confront her publicly and challenge her for leadership of the house and kill her, then I have done that. had the briefest of petty moments suggesting that I should tell Kvek everything and that she should do that. But I will not. I will not harm Hattoria with her rulership simply to spite my mother's nigh on Romulan scheming.
I would advise against it.
It is simply tempting.
Many of the worst ideas are.
No, I know. I'm not going to spite the world by spiting her. But as I say, at the least, she has pushed you into this situation, Commander, so perhaps I can. You would need to, however, upon her death, either recognize my... Head would be in a better position to give guidance, but I don't suppose you can ask him for guidance. You would have to... acknowledge, after my victory, the legitimacy of this succession.
We have records of similar events. I can do research aboard the Iskandar.
I don't think we have a problem with recognizing your legitimacy if that's the path you take, Luth.
But at the very least, it means that you're not deciding how my mother dies. And if I am to be manipulated into being the lord of the house, which I never wanted, but I want it more than any other option. And the fact that she has done this to our people makes me want to do better by them. And I'm so furious with her for manipulating me into this.
I am aware, Luth, that you are not Vulcan. But one of the threads of Kishara is the notion that the outcome of our actions are entirely out of our control. But our intent is always our own. You may well have been manipulated into this situation, but that was never something that was in your control. What you decide is how you behave going forward. She cannot take that from you, no matter how much it seems like she is controlling your actions.
I suppose I question my instincts here, because what I think is the best thing to do is also what I would call the most self-aggrandizing option of any warrior. How convenient that I think that the best thing to do is for me to publicly challenge and fight my own evil mother, slay her, and seize control of the house via this righteous challenge. It is both what I think is the right thing to do, and also what my instincts have told me has been the actions of every blowhard whose attitudes to honor I despise.
From either of your...
Even a blowhard can be right once in a while, Luth.
Lieutenant Kantos is not incorrect. And had either of your siblings suggested this course of action, I may well have been skeptical. But you have ever been the more level-headed of the three.
Comes back to that thing of intent. The action might still be the same action that any full of themselves Klingon warrior might take, but it's why you're doing it. And you're not just doing it to big up yourself.
I often
If that is what you choose to do.
I often ask myself in times of concerns of honor, I ask myself, what would Makag do? And very often the answer is exceptionally not helpful, because what he would do is something that I could not do. He could not inspire a whole warband to fall behind me, or defeat someone else in a direct challenge, or but this is one of the only times where I can think, what would Makag do? And either I think I disagree with it, because I worry, honestly, if he would run to our mother and give her too much opportunity to tell him what to do, or he would do this. I can do this. And the louder and the angrier I am, the better. The more I decry her, the more I publicly pronounce her villainy, the better that is for everyone. She has made this perfect. I assume soon enough, once my heart starts thumping in my chest when I'm facing her with a mechlath, any of that doubt will take care of itself. If you'll excuse me, I think now we've hit the point where I have overthought this, and now I must act.
It seems so.
I'd agree.
Perhaps I should call a meeting.
No. If you...
Should what you do not be seen?
We shouldn't have a part in this, Commander. If we call some kind of meeting for this, it's us getting involved.
I meant more that in our position as arbiters of succession, we have the power to legitimize it.
I think that this is something I need to take, and you need to allow.
I agree. We can provide our stamp of legitimacy as much as we can as arbiters of succession.
Angry bees.
Apologies for the Klingon dire wasps. I didn't realise that the sad boys had developed the bees quite so extensively and quite so quickly.
Casey's like, no, that's just the sound they make. I'm going to put a little sound box in them.
Please don't. We can put our stamp of legitimacy as much as we can as arbiters of succession after the act.
Luff. We should invite House Hegek. Not for now, but so that they will arrive not long after the decision has been made.
Now, I think I should invite them as once I am the Lord.
Luckily, we shall be remaining to oversee the Tukhtan.
Yes. I'm going to walk to the hall.
Do you want us to at least come with you? Or do you...
You should be there.
Yes. Very well.
He leaves, like he's done that. I've decided. Now I am leaving.
On her way out, striding after him, Talandra is going to pause and then go, God, I can hear it now brewing. It's terrifying. Talandra to Lieutenant Zal.
Zal here, go ahead.
There may be about to be an incident.
Where?
The hall.
Okay.
But it may ripple out. Stay alert your end.
Yes, Commander.
I will be in touch.
So, I realise I have put myself into a position of doing an awful lot of describing of things.
Mother! Oh, I knew you'd come.
So
Oh my boy!
I'm going to treat this with a relatively light touch.
Get the sock puppets out, Kath.
No. I feel like if this were in the TV show segment, this would be done much more with like bit more of a musical, not musical,
Musical.
music
This is
in
the
lieu
musical
of
episode.
no
Mother, I'm gonna fight you
Okay,
now.
I've just got to wait for this.
He's gonna fight you. He's gonna fight you. It's good. Tony Award winning.
Yeah, we have like, you know, the Klingon warriors doing like a kind of elaborate backing dancing routine around this, where we have, you know, Ratek, and Lutz centre stage singing quite loudly at each other.
Listen, you
It's a
said
dancing.
you want to treat this with a light touch. Leave it to us. We've got this.
We've
I'm
got this,
quiet,
Kath.
I'm
It's
staying
cool.
Oh,
But yeah, that's because it's not your line in the song yet. Like Cantus and Talandra don't get any lines
How's
in the
the
song until
football?
right near the end.
look at you getting the good girl points. I'm quiet. Don't worry, Kat.
Okay. Everyone can.
Luth walks into the hall, snapping his fingers like it's West Side Story.
Can you
Fuck
mute
you,
her,
West
please?
Side.
Strange just dies. Like, it's weird. Like, there's a backswing in the
I
fight.
probably deserve that, to be honest.
Just takes off Strange's head. It's just, he's just dead now. And next it'll be Cantos. Everyone can gather in the hall. Although I think at this point, with Zal staying down at the relief station, it's just pretty much the Sad Boys in command team. And it is a late afternoon. It is actually a bit quiet about the hall. People are going about their business. Luth would arrive, disappear off to his rooms. And while he's gone, there is clearly a ripple of tension that starts to move about the hall. Clearly something has happened, and by the look on Mahed's face when he eventually comes down to the hall, it seems likely that Luth has spoken with Mahed. Before Luth comes back, Judim and Kvek both arrive. Kvek has her little band. Judim takes up a seat on the benches, looking that sort of amused, that veneer of amused indifference. When Luth returns, he has with him a bat'leth, and he is in armor. Kvek doesn't scoff, but there's clearly a, your what, mate, kind of appearance to her about it. And Luth just blanks her. Judim goes over to Luth, is clearly asking, "Hey, what's going on? What's all of this?" etc. And Luth just brushes him off. And Ratek comes down. And Luth's eyes are locked on her as she walks across the hall to the chair. And then she doesn't look at him until she sits down, at which point her gaze locks onto him. There's a moment where it looks as if Kvek kind of opens her mouth as if she's gonna, demand what is the meaning of all of this. And then Luth steps forward towards Ratek, and he begins. He starts in a bit of a low voice, which, thanks to the acoustics of the room, do pick up. If he weren't in armor, and if this weren't a weird vibe, you suspect that he probably would have been interrupted by now by somebody, because he starts out giving almost a report and account of the situation with the Tournon, with the proposed cure, with the work that's being done, with everything they found. Because he's still Luth. And then he talks about the mutation and that the Macamich in particular was artificial. And at that point, he starts to get more het up. Until he looks at his mother and finishes and proclaims that by all the evidence and by her own admission, she unleashed the Tournon on Hatoria. There is a beat. There is, again, a ripple through the crowd. Judim, laughs, gives an incredulous laugh, but he doesn't get more than a couple of seconds in before Ratek's initial non-reaction takes the wind out of this. Kvek advances up next to Luth, looks at her mother, demands an answer as Ratek stands. Says, yes. Because this miserable house of the three of you miserable prospects showed no capability of ruling or saving this world. And I would rather see it collapse and fall than be led by any one of you weak, pathetic disappointments. Kvek just freezes at that, goes completely still. Judim looks baffled, and that is the moment where Luth steps forward and backhands his mother. A hush falls, and he says, then as the one who has found the signs of your dishonor and is going to fix and undo everything you have done, I believe you are unworthy of rulership of this house. I believe you are a dishonorable dog who has betrayed your family and your duties, and I challenge you for leadership of the house. There's again, Kvek is still frozen in place. Judim kind of stands and looks like he's kind of got a maybe we should, and Mahet is the one who shoots him a son, don't you fucking even look.
I think if the Starfleet officers in the room could silence someone just with psychic powers, they would have done it by now.
Oh yeah.
Ratek looks at Mahed and simply says, get me a batleth. What follows is just frankly awful, because Ratek is old. She is not, and actually it becomes quite apparent that she is in worse physical shape than she had been letting on. The hand that she often kept covered is clearly quite weak, and maybe if this hadn't been a battleless fight, she would have been able to account for herself better. But it is a battleless fight. But she does not go quietly. And it's almost worse because Luth is a trained fighter. Were he Kvek, it would have been over very quickly. And it's quick. Like, there is... Ratek does the opening move. That is the demonstration of her experience and possibly trying to push Luth, is that the moment it starts, Ratek comes for him with quick, intricate work that if she were faster, if she were stronger, would clearly be quite impressive. But Luth, just by youth and strength, is able to block her, push her back, go for the counter strike. She parries, there is a back and forth, and then Luth knocks her guard open and delivers a blow. And it knocks her down to one knee, but she's not out because Luth doesn't have the... Luth was not skilled enough to immediately dispatch her with one blow. And as she goes down, he brings the bat'leth down to her neck. He leans in. There is a moment where they appear to say something to each other. And then he brings it back and down. And kills her. There is another hush over the hall. Mahed steps forward, clears his throat, then reaches for Luth's right hand and lifts it and says, "All hail Luth, Lord of the House of Luth, son of Ratek." There is a beat. Kvek repeats it, and from there it spreads out. Luth just looks... Luth looks like he's probably disassociating pretty hard by now. But as it starts to die down, he looks over at Talandra and Kantos. "You were pronounced arbiters of succession by my mother. I trust and hope this succession has satisfied you."
Talandra will make the show of glancing at Lieutenant Kantos.
Mm-hmm.
And Kantos will kind of mirror the same kind of shows. Yeah. So you've got the two arbiters kind of looking to each other, looking back to Luth.
And she will say... And will also glance at Mahed, who has been their guide on such matters.
Yes, he will give like that tiny imperceptible nod.
And goes, "I believe it is the decision of the arbiters of succession that honour has been satisfied, Lord Luth."
And as the chant starts to go around the room, Luth, 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 that is where we are going to take a break.
Can Luth have a break as well?
He will need one, but he's not about to get one. And also, Emily, I'm sorry, but
I know.
Luca Modric has fucking
I know. I saw.
That teleporting bastard.
It's not fair. Who lets him have
all
a teleporter?
of him on the
Yes.
pitch at once. It's not fair. Anyway, we will take a quick break and we'll be back when we're back for aftermath and wrap up, as we are indeed going to finish this. So see you soon, folks.
Bye.
Hi everyone, we're back after definitely, I think now at least one after the noise Mike just made. At least one of us has had problems with demons. So let's dive right back into it for the final part of So Shall You Reap. Things move quite quickly over the next few days with the House of Luth and Lord Luth. He takes a step back from the scientific element of things to take a more of a coordination-y basis. Although, like, after like one attempt for him to have a meeting in the hall where he sat on the big chair, he hasn't yet moved into his mother's quarters. He has the next meeting like in a meeting room in somewhere where there's a table and displays where it could be a bit more like a, actual briefing than the Lord giving out instructions. But things progress relatively quickly for the distribution of the pesticides, and for the distribution of these tiny vat grown guhua, which the science department can oversee the distribution of to essentially each agricultural settlement. They will live for about 6 weeks and then they will die. So that's fine. And there is...
Assuming we did our job correctly about
Yes.
making them not sex bees.
About making them not sex bees, the sexless bees.
Oh no, they're hornier than ever.
I mean, they'll definitely die in about 6 weeks, but there shouldn't be more of them. And I guess like that could also be achieved by, well, I mean, it's best to make them sterile rather than run the risk of, I don't know how bees procreate. I didn't look into this very much. And also there's alien bees, so whatever.
Fine, they're bees, not hornets.
Thanks again to A Hyperion for the bee solution. And the deployment is utilized during for the atmosphere and climate control towers of Hatoria to distribute the necessary antifungal. I was going to say antifungal pesticides, but I'm not sure that's the right. But also, don't care. Science happens. Plan B, yeah. And this takes a few more days. Luth, true to his word, does indeed invite House Hegek to attend, although they actually express that they will, once they receive word, or whatever word it is that Luth gives them, which is, presumably it's by now the truth, considering how well word is spreading of what happened to Ratek. They express that they will visit to renew oaths of fealty and recognize him and support him actually once the quarantine is lifted, which is a demonstration of some trust. And also clearly a need that they don't think it's wonky, that the succession is not a wonky business. So things wrap up. Obviously, there's a lot more. The relief team goes a bit more into overdrive because there's a bit more idea of a timeline now, and a bit more distribution of equipment, seeds, supplies to all the different settlements to make sure that they have what they need to start with new crops and to endure until then. Anything which happens off-world is officially not a Hatoria problem. That's the rest of the goddamn Empire's problem. So then that leads to, that's work for Zal, that's work for Dr. Burov, who can indeed catch up on one of the later days as you are prepared for wrapping things, for closing things down, whilst Dr. Burov is in their little medi shelter. Kowalski has a football game going on outside. It's up to Zal if Zal's involved in the football game.
Zal will watch any sport, even
That's
if
true.
he doesn't fully get it.
Zal loves Earth sport.
Yeah.
And so there's the novelty factor of like, oh, an actually organic game of football has sprung out. Interesting.
Yeah. And yes, Anne Burial will make her way into the little medical station prefab.
Burial!
Doctor.
Come in, I'll put on some tea.
Well, I heard that you would be departing soon enough, and I wasn't sure whether or not you were operating off the reports from the young lordling or from the people themselves.
Well, considering the Lordling and I have not spoken 2 words to one another, I can only go off what the people say.
That's true. And it does seem as if he's... Well, I don't think anyone ever questioned whether or not he was a sensible boy.
Seems to me that good sense is a good foundation for any leader.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's been a pleasure, I believe would be the human way of putting it,
It has.
to meet and work with you.
I don't know what the Klingon word would be. It has been interesting to meet you.
We would talk of what great deeds have happened normally, or what our work has been, and you don't put it in those terms, so let's not
Well then,
trouble ourselves.
I will say that I very much enjoyed meeting you and learning about your people.
Yes, you were very interesting, Doctor.
It was nice to see how much you and I have in common, despite having a lot of very obvious things that are not in common.
Yes, I don't think that you would be particularly satisfied with the lot in life of the Klingon peasant, but
I don't think you'd very much enjoy living on a neutral zone mining colony.
no, or being a Starfleet doctor.
Being a Starfleet doctor is one of those things that few people are cut out for, but it's very easy once you're doing it.
If you have medical training.
I think that's probably the foundation from which many of us spring.
I might struggle with that. But yes, we don't get much of excitement on Hattori, and I'm normally quite happy with that.
I'm sure, though, all of this will be quite an exciting story to tell one day.
It will. We're going to have to be very careful on how we tell the story of the Lady Ratek who lost her marbles in her old age, who hated her own children so much she preferred to burn their legacy. None of this is good. And then the young Lordless.
I suppose she never quite recovered from Makag's death.
Yes. Losing an honourable son and heir.
Maybe there is a sort of poetry to it. That she
Maybe.
lost an honourable son and heir, but then another honourable son and heir rose to take his place?
Maybe. And maybe also the nobles need to sometimes get a fucking grip.
That is important. And it's kind of interesting that the one that had to tell her to get a grip is the one who was least involved in all of the politics of nobility.
Might be there's something to it. We have to put up all the time with our sons and daughters not dying in glorious battle, and we just don't have a strict interpretation of them, of what it takes to get to Stovercore.
I don't know much about Stovercore as a thing, but it seems to me that if only nobles who died in a very specific way got to Stovercore, it would be a very lonely
Quiet
experience.
place. Bit of a quiet place.
Nobody wants that.
That seems against the spirit of Stovercore.
I know that if I were in charge of Stovercore, I certainly wouldn't run it like that. And I know how to throw a good party.
That's good, yeah. I was thinking about you commanding the Black Fleet, but yes.
I'm a Starfleet doctor. I've got more iron in my spine than many people might think.
I believe it. I'm glad it wasn't much needed.
No.
You've done a great service to the people of Vitoria. I hope we never see each other again.
As every time I am reminded of you, I will think of our adventures. I hope that every now and then something reminds you of me, and you smile a little.
That will be nice. I prefer to deal in memories. We keep them after all.
Mhm.
Right. Goodbye, Doctor.
Take care.
Find a good day to die. She leaves, cackling trollishly to herself.
I'll put it on my to-do list.
Yeah, the relief team can continue to pack up, wrap things up, and I I think that there'll certainly be an occasion for Lieutenant Cantos to, if Lieutenant Cantos does not make an occasion to make it to Caverns Hall at one of the many days, but frankly, being acting EXO, there's a lot of logistical things which Lieutenant Cantos can help with.
Mhm.
But there is a day, a few days after the death of Ratek, where they can head up to Caverns Hall, crossing the courtyard, and passing out from the main keep is Kvek, who has been not really seen much of since Ratek's death. And she will sort of stop at the main doors as Cantos approaches, straighten as they approach. Arbiter,
Quebec.
I hope you're satisfied at a job done.
Yes, I suppose I could call it a job well done, but it is at least a job done.
No, I should commend you on your fighting spirit. Your technique leaves a little something to be desired, but that is what I would expect
There, I
from
would have to
Starfleet.
agree with you, but
But there are many who I have tested in such a way who flinched and floundered and fled.
oh, I'm glad that I could, what I lacked in technique, I could at least attempt to make up for in spirit.
Well, spirit is really all that matters.
There is an element to which skill and experience matter, though.
Skill and experience will help you find the best death and hold off the poor deaths for as long as possible. Spirit is what will make sure that you have a good death.
Still, should probably brush up if I want to find a better death and not merely a good one.
Yes, maybe you could be a little quicker on your feet.
Perhaps.
Or with your... If you had the time, I could give you some tips before you leave.
I believe we are still here for a few more days, so
I won't distract you from your
Perhaps.
duties, but you have some potential.
perhaps a few lessons might be in order then before the Iskandar departs.
Are you sure you have the fortitude for that, Lieutenant? So, Arbiter, she would say, Arbiter.
What I lack in fortitude, I'm sure my fighting spirit could make up for it.
I suppose I would like to see more of that. So, Arcady, over the next couple of days, there's at least one sick bay trip for Cantos.
How? How did you? How? How did you?
There are bite marks, not just, broken bones.
Do you need me to tell the commander?
No, no, I don't. I don't think the commander needs to know about the
I
the
think
injuries.
I think Arcady's response to that, in that really surprised way, is to be shocked and then just to put their hand over Cantos' mouth and just go, Adina, you didn't! She tried to kill you that one time.
Yes.
You are incorrigible.
Also, yes.
Yes! Why is everything an aphrodisiac to you? I think you're wired wrong.
I'm fairly confident that that's not the case. Not everything.
Hmm. 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 As your best friend, Adina, I have to caution you against whatever it is that. 3 cracked ribs? That can't be comfortable.
No,
Hmm.
but
But you know that.
this is where your capable hands come in.
Yes, yes. I knew that there was butter involved somehow. Fine, I will patch you up, and I will patch you up every time. You stupid, stupid, stupid head.
Thank you, Arkady.
They'll get a kiss on the side of the head. I know. What would you do if your best friend wasn't the chief medical officer? You couldn't speak to a real chief medical officer like this.
No, you're right. I would have to find an alternative way of speaking to a different chief medical officer, but as it is, we have the best chief medical officer in Starfleet.
More butter. Okay.
Are you objecting?
No, not at all. I like being told I've done a good job.
Well, you have done a good job. The council will leave warning his Arkady on the cheek. As the...
Go on with you.
If you want, I could see if she's interested.
Incorrigible.
Fine.
Is
Amazing.
Lord Luth No, never mind.
And Cantos leaves. See, this is even funnier to me, as I'd been like, oh, I wasn't sure if we'd do more with Quebec. Oh yeah, we should resolve this. Oh, I wonder if there's going to be any more digging into Quebec's, like, you know, closing the circle on like the emotional space that Quebec was in is clearly very troubled by what happened to her. Nope, just gonna bang Cantos. That's how this. I'm happy with Quebec ending as a weird, slightly evil panto Klingon, frankly. She doesn't deserve more depth than that. She's the
Okay.
worst.
We'll leave that there.
Can I talk about that means that Quebec and Attaché Diadite are bang buds?
Bang buds. Yeah, they're bang buds.
That's weird.
That's a weird.
Those are
There
two
are
very
fewer degrees of
different.
separation than you'd expect between those two.
Yes.
One day they'll have to meet, and it will be strange.
No, it won't.
It really won't.
Speaking of Adam Strange and
I'm not banging a Klingon.
Jan
Nope,
Casey.
can't meet me.
Towards the end, on some of the final, you will have moved you will have moved an awful lot of the logistical observation points of monitoring the distribution of the bees and the pesticides, etc., and any further needed deployments to Luth's lab setup. So obviously they can monitor it. He can monitor it for himself, as opposed to being done from Starfleet. So there is, as you are putting the final touches on helping set up Luth's lab, the Lord Luth himself will join you down there. Lieutenant Henson, I believe you'll be departing after this.
Yes, not long after this.
Very well. I should. Obviously, I have expressed and will make sure to formally express the gratitude of my house and my planet for the assistance of Starfleet in this both matters of relief, resolution, and arbitration. But I wanted to personally thank you both for your assistance these past week or so.
Thank you.
Thank you also for your assistance in coming to the bottom of this.
I hope that you have very successful careers and prospects.
And how are you feeling about your?
Well, I suppose if my mother has done one thing, she has given me a demonstrable victory, which I can wield at every single possible occasion. upon introducing myself, upon establishing myself as the lord of the house. So I will be fine. I saved my world and killed the evil, lost, embittered woman who decided to proclaim to the entire world that she did it because she hated her children too much. But by killing her, I proved her wrong. You see, that is how that story goes for us. She thought that we were too weak and tried to destroy our birthright, and she was proven wrong and overthrown.
That does beg the question, if you don't mind my curiosity. What was it she said to you before the final blow?
You always can win. You just have to choose to fight. Bitter that this was the lesson it took.
Yes.
I'm not sure, actually, this was the only way she could have done that. But I think for all that she pretended that this was necessary, cold-hearted of her, a calculated decision, I think maybe there is a little more truth to it than she or anyone than she would admit. There's a lot of this was about losing Makag.
Mm.
Yes.
But I will be fine. I have Mahed, who is an excellent Jintak. Kavek is falling in line.
Good.
And it benefits Judim if the house looks strong. I will let him tell tales far and wide of how the children of Ratek got this done. If he wants to insert himself into the tale, so be it. It does him no good to undermine me, because right now he is at his best if he may follow my lead into the battles.
Hmm.
So he can be insipid somewhere else. Well, I won't keep you.
No, but I hope your time as Lord of your house is a long and successful one.
Thank you, Ensign. Ensign, I'm not sure what's really happening, but from what little I know of Starfleet and what I see of your skills, your superiors clearly should be giving you more opportunities to raise above this rank.
We will look to making sure that that is the case.
Good. And Lieutenant Casey, I know that humans have a very different attitude to death. As I said, it is the life that matters. What you do with it, 1 year, 1,000 years, doesn't make a difference.
Well, I
Good
suppose
day to die isn't about the fact that you die. It's about the fact that it was a good day.
That is good and yes, no, good to hear.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Let's make our lives good ones.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if you need the assistance of Starfleet, please don't be a stranger.
I shall. I think that will be for the best. Maybe now at last I can take some measures towards a certain amount of modernization once we've recovered. Yes. I'm sure there's more we can do with our agricultural systems. Yes. Thank you. Safe journeys. I don't know what to wish Starfleet.
And I'm not sure what to wish you. So
That's
safe
fine.
journeys in return.
And yeah, you can pack up and leave. There will have been a certain amount of pomp and circumstance for around the departure of Starfleet, Luth will make sure that he and his siblings and Mehet are down to the Iskandar's departure point. But it is, again, it's a bit ceremonious. It is to make it very obviously clear that the Klingons are grateful for the assistance of Starfleet and bidding goodbye. And the Iskander, everyone can roll back aboard the Iskander unless there's anything if someone wants to jump in there, and you can depart. I assume you are taking with you the Emerald Fortune. You can bring them back. Luth is not contesting it because the offences are ostensibly against the House of Luth. Luth is permitting Starfleet to exert the idea of doubtless something fucking illegal within the Makmich is in there. So technically, Harad was transporting that through Federation territory before he was ever transporting it across the border into Klingon territory. So he committed the offence first there. And the Klingon Empire is not contesting it. So he'll get done, technically on lesser charges in Federation space. Arguably, that is the price for his cooperation.
It still get done, but...
Yeah, not done by Klingons. Klingons who might be trying to cover up their wrong-and-doing. And, yeah. And the Iskander heads back for Federation territory. I don't think I double-checked one thing. Yeah, Ensign Strange can, return aboard the ship. The ship will set off. He'll be off shift, get himself some sleep, show up down in engineering for his first shift afterwards. Things look and feel a bit different. Like, if Strange weren't a
Reyes
former
has already
chief,
kind of made her mark on.
Yeah, just the tempo of work, the attitude around the work. It is a strange combination of a little bit more lax and a little bit more frantic isn't the wrong word, but kind of a bit, yeah.
Higher speed.
Yes, loose and faster.
The kind of the rhythm of it.
Yes. And as Strange comes in, reporting for a shift, she's at the big pool table. Display. She don't have those on Intrepid class, but whatever. Now they do. This one does. Blaze just kind of looks up. All right, Strange had a good Hawaii mission.
Yes, yes, Chief. Everything was successful. The antifungal measures have been successfully deployed across Satoria.
Yep, good job. Right, I need you to realign the dilithium matrix.
Yes, Commander. Commander's the right rank, isn't it?
No, she's a lieutenant. Because if she were a commander, she'd outrank Kantos. It was
Strange does not
Strange
say
does
that
not
then.
get it wrong. Yeah,
I'm a duke, not a lord.
Strange gets the correct rank.
I assume so. Yep. All right, get to. And not even looking at him by the time she's made the final dismissal, Strange can go off and start the kind of menial bit of.
It's a menial task. It takes ages. It's really dull.
It does require high attention to detail, which is why it falls into an officer.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a complicated menial task.
But
it's still a menial task that takes ages.
He wouldn't have done it when he was chief engineer.
Yeah, there's a slight kind of as he initially came into that scene, he'd been a bit straight back to not confident,
but yeah,
not confident, not with a springiness step, but not looking like he hates everything. And then just as he leaves, there's just a slight kind of slump to the shoulders.
Poor boy. Yeah.
And he goes, "Yep, this is my life now, isn't it?" That's the kind of.
Yeah. Oh right. Yeah. This is reality. Had a break.
Yes.
Back to reality. Does anyone want any scenes before the Iskander returns? Essentially, I don't know if we're going to have another Casey Strange scene this episode. I know that the ball was kicked down. It's fine if we're not going to. That's the thing I don't want to. That's the main thing I don't want to just keep moving around at her. I think if there's hesitation, the answer is no.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a way to work it in because also we're not going to have any next episode at all.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
So that's why I'm kind of wondering, do we invent one or do we just leave it?
If you're not sure,
Yeah.
I would recommend leaving it, because then that leaves it hanging over Casey for, an episode.
You could
True.
you could even have like Strange's like shoulder deep in some tech that he's doing for Reyes. Casey sees that he's busy and then just is like, I can't really involve myself in engineering. I'm gonna get him in trouble, and then he just leaves, and it's like, they
Yeah.
could have talked and they didn't.
But they didn't.
Yeah, or even literally
I
start
like that.
Casey is down, does have legitimate business with Reyes. The camera's in the forefront of Strange, elbow deep in stuff. There is a
Yeah.
background conversation between
It's
Casey and
Casey
Reyes.
and Reyes. Ah, that's nice.
Reyes leaves. That's the point. Casey looks at Strange, and then Casey leaves.
And then Casey leaves.
Yeah. I like that.
That's good.
That's
I
good
think that's a
stuff.
good representation of
ball.
the difficult situation. Yeah.
Kick that ball a little bit further down the road. Okay.
We don't have kick the ball based metaphors.
I know. Well, we already had that game of football, which happens at the relief shelter. But so you make it back to Starbase, which had a number, and I've lost it. So whatever.
Starbase N.
Starbase. Yes, I don't know why you said N, and you're correct, but at the same time, I was like, that's not a fucking number. That was my.
Anyway, we've talked about this.
Indignant instinct.
Some mathematician is like, we've worked it out to the nth degree. It's not a real number.
It's not a real number, apparently.
Call yourself a mathematician, don't even know numbers.
Mathematicians don't use numbers. Don't be
Oh.
ridiculous.
I gave us a star date. I didn't give us a
Dre.
Starbase.
Nice.
Nice. Dre. Nice.
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 Yeah. You make it back to Starbase dock, and there is the anticipation that Athan is already there and will come aboard. So I assume Talandra comes down to greet her.
Talandra just falls on her going, oh, that's horrible.
Talandra does come down to greet her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So the airlock opens, and Athan walks out. She is not alone, and she says to Talandra, Commander, it's been a long journey. We should catch up after I've had a bit of rest. Which is a strange thing for Athan to say as she turns to immediately go. But this will make much more sense, considering that the other person with her is a haggard, worn, scrubbed up Kalev Elrad in civilian clothing.
Mr. Elrod?
Mr. is correct. The captain thought it would be best if I explained matters directly, and I think was trying to be circumspect.
She is not good at it.
Negotiations were ongoing, were held, and the long and short of it is that the Prime Lector has seen fit to make use of a man of Cardassia who has principles and a vision for the future of Cardassia. However, it was necessary for me to make apologies to Central Command. And of course, my commission has been revoked rather dishonorably.
I have found over the course of the past few weeks that honor takes people to strange places.
Whilst I'm aware you were in Klingon space, I'm sure that was a very specific and probably deeply hypocritical experience for you, from my experience of Klingons. You are not incorrect, of course.
I cannot say that I fully understood the experience I had, but it was a necessary education. Would you care to not have this conversation in an airlock?
By all means, the captain, I will require quarters.
Yes, forgive me, I would have had them arranged ahead of time had the captain let me know to expect guests. I can have temporary quarters made available for you.
I'm sure that will be quite sufficient.
Have you seen a doctor?
Yes. I reconvened. I was given my freedom. I saw a Cardassian doctor. The current arrangement is that the Prime Lector would like for further cooperation with the Federation, with Starfleet, and is dispatching, with Starfleet's blessing, civilian observers and liaisons to select Starfleet posts to try to attempt some further cooperation between our people. And as such, I met with the captain and others, and also had the opportunity to, at her insistence, receive a full medical from a Starfleet doctor. But
Talandra is immediately scanning the pad for length of time, or indefinitely.
It's like a 6 month with potential to be reviewed at the end of that period as a project.
I shall have to see to it that you are given something better than guest quarters.
Truthfully, I appreciate that. However, I do not need much of my status. I am here to work, observe, lend what assistance I can to your duties, try to build bridges. Cardassian ships are not particularly luxurious. And obviously neither are. Yes.
Then for as long as you're aboard the Iskandar, you will be treated as a civilian liaison aboard the Iskandar. With your permission, Mr. Elrod.
Of course, Commander.
And she will, I guess, walk him
Yeah.
to, the temporary guest quarters that are basically we got someone new, put them in there. While, frantically, coordinating rooms on the ship and,
It's not, it isn't actually difficult because you don't have any,
Yeah, but she wants him to have somewhere nice.
Yeah, but I was going to say, but of the various, not the full VIP suites, you could arguably put him in a VIP suite because, he is arguably something of a diplomatic. He's not a full diplomatic delegate. You could arguably put him in the VIP suite. That takes a VIP suite
he's a very important person.
out of potential usage, but you have two. So it takes one out of usage. You could give him officers, equivalent of officers' quarters. There is spaces, and because the Iskandar is under the circumstances it's been in, you're not oversubscribed.
I mean, to be honest, I think Talandra will consider and then discount the VIP suite, if only because it's the nicest rooms and she knows that he will figure that out and then be uncomfortable with it. So if she tables VIP rooms, then discounts them, then she will have given him officers' quarters.
Yes.
And he will know that VIP was an option and that he has not been given the overly fancy. Talandra has high empathy and plays mental gymnastics with her decisions in order to make people happy. She's
Man who has been in a Cardassian prison cell for the last 6 months is happy with what he gets.
And she is determined not to take advantage of that fact by going, here's a cupboard, it's bigger than what you had.
Yes.
But all the while I think she's not fretting, but she's giving herself work because she doesn't want to crowd him, thereby giving herself work is the thing she can do, but she is not happy with the captain for this. Captain.
What the fuck, Captain? I'm not human. You don't need to surprise me. Yes, you can get him to temporary quarters, and then get him moved.
Whilst all of her work, she's like, Cantos, I need you to do all this for a second. I'm off to do a million other things. Like calibrating the humidity perfectly and just being like, yes, this is good. I'm playing house. But as a Klingon, so I'm playing house in a not great way.
The Vulcan.
As a Klingon.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, this episode took a turn.
'Twas I am Quebec, and I have snuck aboard the ship to murder you all.
After
Shit him
10,000
into it.
years, I'm free! Pretty big Quebec energy.
You can't just still into it.
No, do you want to know why? The whole while I've been saying, don't say Vulcan, say Klingon. Don't say Vulcan, say Klingon.
Yeah.
And just a while I was like, Klingon. Ah, no.
I didn't want to do the thing where, like, I know what you
It's
said,
the
but I
one time
pointed...
that replace all wasn't meant to be used.
I didn't want to, like, I know what you meant, but I pointed it out. But, like, it was jarring. Yeah, she can get him, set up some of the officers, some of the officers' quarters spares that you basically have, because that's sensible. 2 perfect levels of humidity. Like, I guess this could be a quick job, but I guess Talandra's not going to make it a quick job.
It's got books. It's
Yeah.
neutral. She hasn't made it too Cardassian because she's trying to make it neutral because, like, he might not want to have a lot of Cardassian shit going on.
Yeah.
But, like, basically, it's one of those things that's actually quite boring. Like, if this were Arcady, it would be like, hello, I have gone too far and I've made this space too much. Whereas she's like, it's the perfect humidity and there are plenty of books. That is all.
Okay. Yeah, she can set him up with quarters, and, like, the dude is clearly still, like, physically a bit fucked up, even if it's just from, like, low energy levels, etc. So he's very inclined to rest.
These are my hours of duty. If you wish to speak more, you are welcome to request my presence, but I shall leave you to get your own rest.
Thank you. Though certainly after the last few months, company has been at a premium.
Of course, but from my research into the subject indicates that too much company too soon can be overwhelming. If Lieutenant Kantos or Dr. Burov invite you to any parties, I suggest you politely postpone any such invitations.
Thank you for the warning. I don't suppose you can give me any particular advice on how to comport myself with the crew or in public spaces? Would it be... Obviously, at some point, I intend to improve matters, but there is a difference between presenting myself to the mess hall if the presence of a Cardassian liaison would be grossly unwelcome.
The captain will likely make an announcement to the officers, which will filter down through departments. I imagine that the captain will most likely wish to have one of her dinners, which will be an opportunity to meet with the officers, following which time I would suggest we take lunch in the officers' mess.
I would like that very much.
But all things in time. I will
There is
let you rest.
plenty. There's plenty of time.
But it is uncommonly good to see you again, Caliph.
And it is more rejuvenating than you know to be here and to see you, Talandra.
Until later, then.
Until later.
She steps out,
Yep.
closes the door, stops, takes a breath, and gets back on with what she's doing. Because
Fuck it off.
the woman can't respond to things.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend is on the ship now.
Your boyfriend's on the ship.
Hey, Casey, your dad's on the ship.
think that-
Stepdad.
Stepdad.
Stepdad, yeah. but
As
still.
as Talandra predict, like, yes, the senior staff will have it filtered down to them of the presence of Cardassian liaison.
Casey kicks in the captain's door. What?
What the fuck? Caleb Elrod.
No!
No!
Who, there's a certain amount of details on like degrees of information access, etc. But the point is for a cooperative mission in the vein of, whilst he's a civilian, it follows a lot of the models of past officer exchanges. So whilst he doesn't get access to like classified data, he's allowed on the bridge. The idea is that he is a presence to be able to act as an advisor and to provide information, support, and a perspective, sharing of culture. And so he has a certain amount of freedom as opposed to just being a guest. Although, yeah, like Athan will certainly like pencil in at some point herself onto Talandra's schedule for a meeting in her quarters. Actually, it will be like a few hours after she's given Talandra that block of time. There will be, yes, the meeting in her quarters. Sandra can arrive. Athan is at the desk in her room. Commander,
Welcome back, Captain.
thank you. I've seen some of the initial reports. It sounds like Hatoria was complicated, but well handled.
Those are perhaps the best words for it, Captain, yes. Special commendations ought to go to Lieutenant Kantos and Lieutenant Casey for performing their duties as officers to exceptional standards, and a officer's commendation and a crewman commendation has been passed to Lieutenant Reyes on behalf of Ensign Strange.
That's good. I assume he wasn't overstepping his bounds?
No, I believe that Lieutenant Casey kept him in line.
That is good to hear. I apologize for being circumspect with the arrival of Mr. Elrad. In truth, things happened a little quickly.
Captain, I will allay your concerns. It is not your responsibility to keep me apprised of all of your decisions and doings.
Well, it wasn't. It was only a little. It was my decision in that the offer was made, and I had the opportunity to rebuff it. But it is the last, I think, of. I don't think that there's going to be as much. I think this is the last echo of my influence from the conference. I think it's been made quite clear to me that it's made clear that we have a lot of work to do before we are going to be able to again impact an empire.
It is often important, Captain, that a crew is able to begin again.
Yes, I hope that's very much what this turns out to be. So, I am sorry that your assignments turned into something more of a political hotbed than was anticipated. Had I known, I would not have allowed the recommendation for the Iskandar to attend to what was anticipated to be a relatively routine humanitarian operation. But as I say, it seems as if no harm done, and in fact a great success, which is good. I mean, Hattori is a bit of a... It's good as an assignment, though Hattori is something of a backwater, so I'm not sure that they'll... It's good that Iskandar could help people.
A woman died, Captain.
Yes. Klingon who committed a grievous crime.
I am aware of the legal and cultural expectations of Ratek's actions, Captain. However, I struggle to call a complete success a mission that ended in a loss of life, no matter what the purpose. I understand that it was the Klingon way, which is why I did not implement my own desires onto proceedings and supported Luth in his actions. Nevertheless, it cannot be an event that I can brush off so easily.
I don't think you should brush it off. Certainly that, however, is the perils of diplomacy. To know when to give and to live with it. But as I say, I would not have... I would have opposed the Iskandar being sent upon this mission had I known the true circumstances. And regardless of that, as is usual, the crew went above and beyond. Regardless, I anticipate I'm going to be away less. I anticipate there's going to be less need for me to attend upon other matters, and so I will give the ship my fullest attention from here on.
As you wish, Captain.
As is necessary.
I am personally very glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And I believe the rest of the crew are also.
That is something.
Regarding the structure of the Iskandar going forward, Captain, civilian and foreign liaisons are often their first port of call is the executive officer.
Do you think that's inappropriate? Would it be better if it's Lieutenant Kantos?
I understand, Captain, that what you did was part of a broader influence on Cardassian diplomacy and not as a favour to your executive officer. However, I am aware of how things will look, and considering the Iskandar is already less than well thought of.
Lieutenant Kantos can act as the main point of contact for Mr. Elrod. The thought crossed my mind, Commander. However, one, I didn't wish to presume, and two, I of course trusted your judgment to step back if necessary.
I am completely capable of being... which one is it? Objective. Subjective.
Mm-hmm. Objective, yes.
Christ. I'm completely capable of being objective, Captain, but I also am aware that some people forget that I can be.
Yes, under normal circumstances. That's not a... Were you not a Vulcan, I would ask if there is anything that I need to know, just as the risk of potential emotional compromise amongst my senior staff is something which I sometimes need to know. Is there anything I need to be aware of, Commander?
Only my gratitude, Captain.
Very well. As always, you have my full trust in these matters.
Thank you, Captain. Was there anything else?
No, I didn't mean to be so blasé about Hatoria, but frankly, I have to be realistic about the politics. If the Iskandar does not continue to perform well, I would not be particularly surprised if Starfleet saw fit to dissolve us as a unit. That has not been made explicit to me, but we should make sure that we keep our chins above water. That may be why I was so relieved that Hatoria was a sticky situation, which you did very well in. That speaks well of us. And I have to be realistic about politics, because if one pretends one doesn't play politics, then politics play you.
Captain, I believe there are very few who could accuse me of being overly idealistic in the face of realism. Hatoria was not only a success, but it was a quiet success for Starfleet.
Yes.
By letting the Lord Luth, as he is now, take command of the situation, it meant that we could easily fade into the background.
And we have a very Starfleet-friendly Lord across the border.
Exactly.
So it's good. Let's make sure we keep it good.
Of course, Captain.
It's, genuinely, I did have a... Whilst I was didn't want to interrupt on any potential reunion, and I thought Mr. Elrod might be better accounting for himself, I did genuinely have a very long trip. So I've been catching up, but
Of course.
we'll speak later.
I will perhaps postpone our afternoon briefing until the morning.
Yes, that sounds agreeable. Do you think Mr. Elrod would respond positive? I don't want to overwhelm him. What are your thoughts on dinner tomorrow night with the senior staff? Or should it just be dinner the three of us? That'd be strange.
I believe, given the circumstances, Captain, senior staff is an appropriate number.
Very
Not
good.
too many, not too few.
I'll arrange it.
Thank you, Captain.
Excellent. That'll be all. Exa.
She straightens her uniform and strides out.
Okay.
And I shall be back in just a moment.
Okay. Well, I think as Izzy runs away again, leaving us, I will flibble flabble until she comes back. But I think that anything else is for future episodes. I don't know if there's anything from Zal. I mean, he's fine. He
No.
just got to do some security.
Yeah.
Like, I'm asking. Like,
No, I appreciate that. No, there's nothing there's nothing to cap off his whole situation right now.
he had a quiet little old time, doing a good job dealing with Klingons. Never got to the end of Sihar. Sihar, for the record, like, had no fucking clue that she was delivering tainted barrels of blood wine. Had a lot of shit going on, she did, about being loyal to McCag and serving with him in the war and now being the sheriff, the marshal. She became one of those irrelevant NPCs over the course of the plot.
Yeah, but didn't go talk to her.
No one went, like, it's not like, you didn't talk to this NPC, like, she had shit. You didn't talk to her, it's fine. Yeah, so all she really got to do was upset Zal.
Somebody's got it.
That's true. God. Izzy could have ended it. Could have ended it all. But no, I think on that note, I am going to then wrap this up and formally call it. So thank you very much, everybody. That was So Shall You Reap. That is the Klingon episode, which I have been promising for a while.
Thank you for running Klingons.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you are.
We love Klingons.
Love Klingons. Yeah. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be Klingons.
It was very Klingon.
It's very Klingon. Maximum Klingon. So,
all Klingons all the time.
yeah. I was saying that is the episode, Izzy. We are done. That is it. So yes, thank you very much. I had a great time running it. I had a great time inflicting Klingons on people and choices and stupid honor and what does it mean to have honor and why are these people so messed up?
Why are Klingons like this?
Yeah, why are Klingons like this?
Kantos, you can't complain. You got involved in the Klingons as much as they got involved in you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
And now, like, Gull Bad Dad was always going to come on board, like, at the end of this, and then I also had to a chief engineer, so I was like, fuck it, I'll do it all.
Talandra has a lot of not feels about this situation.
Talandra had to have an exhale after she left the room. That's fucking serious.
It's huge.
She's caught feels.
There's some emotions going on there.
Yeah. Vulcans
have emotions.
Vulcans have big. What I love is how there is Kath and I are delighted about how there's actually quite a lot of similarity between Vulcan and Cardassian like relationships. Like they express relationships in a very similar way. Vulcans because it's kind of what they do, and Cardassians because they're like, we must be polite. No one must know your true feelings or they'll use them against you.
Although at least, minus the fact that Elrad does not flirt like Cardassians flirt. Jump up, you little shit!
No, I won't.
That is how Cardassians flirt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he doesn't quite have the oiliness to flirt like a Cardassian.
No, he doesn't. He's a particular kind of Cardassian. Yeah. So he'll be around, being a random dude on the ship, won't he? And that's all from me. So now that I have this little void creature to worry about, I will hand this over to Izzy.
I thought I'd speak only to the voids in the audience. Hi. I'm gonna hiccup really loudly in a second. So give me just a second.
Do it. Don't mute. Coward move.
Hiccup on stream. Hiccup on stream. Hiccup on stream.
I want to hear the disgusting noises you're making. Oh my god.
It was sorted. It was very painful, and I hate you both.
Hiccup on stream.
Stop it! Christ! I don't like being chanted at.
This gremlin energy is big tonight.
Right. Did you want to talk about the next adventure for the crew of the Iskandar?
Oh yeah, I can talk about that.
At least a trailer.
I haven't got a trailer, but we'll be back next week.
Sure.
Yes. Yes, we'll be back.
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yep. For the next adventure, I will be running and subjecting these fine people to the story called The Lonely Sea and Sky.
Very Star Trek. Very Star Trek.
And I'm already loving the shaking of the heads that I'm getting before we've even started. And this isn't even the stupid idea I've got. I'm running the sensible idea for you all next week.
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
So yes, join us for investigating a space thing.
Good at that.
Superb. Well, that being said, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for this, the finale of the latest adventure for the USS Iskandar. As usual, our previous adventures are available on YouTube if you wished to go and watch them, watch all of them, watch some of them. Hopefully we have indicated that, like real Star Trek, you can watch us and just kind of follow or not. And, you know, the characters are pretty relatable, pretty followable.
Playlist, put everything in a playlist and then put it on shuffle.
Yeah. Or play every episode at exactly the same time.
That'll be a lot of Izzy energy all at once right at the start.
Yeah. Do a lot of Izzy energy, and that would be great.
Can't thank my supercut.
I played every episode at the same time once, and actually every time the captain speaks, her words synchronize perfectly.
Wow.
It's really weird, isn't it?
It actually sounds like she's having a conversation with herself.
It's pretty eerie. Yeah.
Kath, that's a real talent, but it's not also not a real talent. It's just weird and unsettling.
I planned this years in advance.
Yeah, this has been years in the making.
Which also means at one point I had to force Luke to do my bidding because he wrote an intro sequence for me once.
No, it's magical. He wrote that intro sequence for you. And as far as
But
he's
you knew he was
concerned-
going to write that.
As far as he's concerned, he wrote that for you, but like you made it work. But that being said, as some of you may know, today is the finale of an adventure of Star Trek Iskandar. And what does that mean? That means that you are here to receive some solid gold facts about our trash patrons. So if you are a patron, listen in. And if you're not a patron, then to have a serious fact laid about you, laid bare for the entire audience to judge you for, then go to patreon.com/itchycrew. All backers get this. It's not listed as a reward because it's something dumb that I do. which I guess is the answer to most things that patrons get. So, that being said, get your trash bags and gasped responses at the ready for... Charity Wars Gaming might be our newest patron, but they have in fact been here since the very beginning, built into the very foundations of the crew as a secret pillar of the community. Dinkledore met the trash crew in a bar fight in Belize. He was throwing all the hands, and we were so impressed by his skills that we conscripted him on the spot. The armchair Egyptologist is a friend to all armchairs. If you have an armchair in your house, then you can summon him with a mug of black tea. With a mug of tea. Black, loose leaf, brewed perfectly in a nice glass mug. Ken Poyner is currently suing Kath Stinton and A. Hyperion for the plot of Ace genetically mutated bees. He has had a patent on 6-week-old asexual bees called Poyner's Hornless Hornets. They are expected to settle out of court. Kiwi Tokoeka currently resides in a floating platform somewhere above the United Kingdom. It is a 24-hour party platform that stops off to gather supplies every 3 to 7 days. Photosynthetic is only 3 inches tall and can often be seen riding around on the back of a very fluffy cat, which wreaks havoc with his allergies. Eligos Alexander toyed with the idea of being called Aligos Alexander, but this was deemed too silly even for a member of the Trash fam. Liz Murphy was raised on the mean streets of Urchin Town and was forced to knife fight their way to the top of a scrappy crime syndicate. But secretly, they wish to be a famous tap dancer. Will they manage to dance their way out of a life of crime? Find out this fall in Dance Up 2, Dance to the Streets. Michael Crees is actually an ageless elderly cobbler who makes tiny shoes for mice. Don't let his apparent youth fool you. He is actually very talented at resoling at very reasonable prices. Andrei Cherepnin has already sent assassins to take out Ken Poyner, which should make space on the market for the rival Andrei's apiary of asexuality. Jo is currently filming an episode of Undercover Bosses. She is all of our bosses, so if you see anyone on the street, that might be her. Lou Sutcliffe is the kick-ass robot assassin sent by Andrei Cherepnin to murder Ken Poyner, who has not been heard of since the lawsuit was withdrawn. But Araloki is the exhausted but put upon attorney who shows up to court day in and day out to defend his client, not for thanks, but for justice. The bees have no real voice in this proceedings, and he wishes to represent them. Saki can often be seen outside of the courthouse holding a sign that says, "Justice for the forgotten bees," and "Aren't we all one hive?" Henry Prestige was last seen boarding a train for Montevideo and will not be coming back until he receives a full apology. Caffeine Kitty, on the other hand, is personally invested in the budding love story between the engineer Kingston and the security officer Carnell. When are we going to see that met on screen? Hobbs 138 actually ships Carnell and Linkovich, and the shipping war has been the most aggressive this fandom has ever seen. Mike Kilburn thinks that shipping is bad, and that people who like shipping are bad and dumb. Helena Handbasket is the secret author of Tales Aboard One Fateful Vessel, the epic 250,000-word Adina Cantos Rosie Alders Hurt Comfort fic. James Malloy was formerly on the jury for the infamous Bee trial, but owing to the fact that he is part flower, was deemed too biased. And finally, Michaels, Fielding and Bowman are hotshot reporters on either side of this issue. Fielding chasing the story of the bee business, Bowman meanwhile is figuring out the connection between the shipping wars and the bee tragedy. Does this corruption go to the top of City Hall itself? And that has been your slice of facts about the Trash fam. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have interest in more facts, you can of course go to patreon.com/ityoukrew and get some facts of your very own at the end of the next adventure, which will be run by Emily. Aside from that, we have some very exciting news coming soon. Watch out for the skies, and also, I guess, twitter.com/ityoukrew or on our Discord, wherever Discord's to be found. There are links in some places, you've got to find it, for games that the Trash crew will be involved in. And aside from that, thank you, Kath, for running Arrested Development with Klingons. Thank you all for watching, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.